I will quote a short passage from the book Poesia per Musica and Musica per Poesia by the musicologist Stefano Lavia. Very good musicologist. I recommend this book for everybody, especially for lute performers, Poesia per Musica and Musica per Poesia. We don't know precisely which came first in antiquity, speech or song. It was probably both at the same time. It's not so absurd to assume that man learned to sing before he could speak, using his phonatory organs and vocal cords to make pure sounds freely. Let's imagine shouts of joy, plaintive sobs, cries or moans of pleasure, anger, groans, yes, roars, howls, or other more or less melodic sounds in imitation of animals. All of this before controlling and organizing them so as to associate certain words with precise meanings. The German musicologist Kurt Sachs says that it's not possible to establish in the earliest forms of singing whether the musical emotional elements prevail over the verbal communicative one or the opposite. He defines the words pathogenic, which comes directly from the emotions without the need of speech, or logogenic, in function of speech. From the first, we have many examples of aborigines from different parts of the world, a kind of melodies, some of them in a frenetic and spasmodic manner, like long howls. From the second, the logogenic, we know very old melodies in an horizontal or static way, for example, in the liturgical or ritual recitation of almost every religious cult of the world, or even in the endless and universal repertoire of storytellers and many other forms of singing in which the role of music is reduced to that of a mere vehicle of the word. So it's very important for us to distinguish between these two words, pathogenic and logogenic, the former being linked with pathos or feeling or emotions, the later with logos or words. I wanted to introduce these two concepts since prosody in general is generally associated only with the quantities and rhythms of syllables of spoken language, but as we will see, the pathogenic or emotional affective elements also plays a fundamental role in prosody. The definition from Greek prosodia, from pros, verse, and ode, singing, according to the theory of Greek grammarians, this designated not only accents in quantity, but also spirits and apostrophe marks, joining and separating words. The term, however, is more commonly used to indicate the sets of rules concerning the accentuation and quantity of vowels and syllables, especially in function of versification, while in a more modern technical sense, prosody tends rather to designate the set of those dynamic, melodic, quantitative elements, which are also called suprasegmental, as they accompany and overlap the segment of the spoken chain. It was only later that linguistics paid a particular attention to the phonic characteristic concerning the relationship and variation of intensity, the volume, pitch, and time between words and groups of words of a sentence. In every language, there are constant phonic relationships between intensity and pitch of a word in a given meaning, and these relationships vary as the meaning varies. In order to better understand the importance and relevance that prosodic elements have in a language, we should pay attention to different intonation of the following sentences. For example, enunciative, you did. Interrogative, you did or did you? Exclamative, you did. And incidental, you did. Prosody then studies the following items. The set of syllabic durations of the words of a language, long and short syllables. The dynamic or tonic accents of words and phrases, which are set of words. The intonation as a variation of the frequency of sounds, high or low frequencies, and the pathos, or feeling, or emotion, or affect of spoken speech. In this process, syllable length naturally plays a fundamental role in prosodic speech. The alternation of these events then produces a certain, often quantifiable rhythm, giving rise to the concept of meter, which is the alternation of syllables in a specific, often sequential and classifiable order. When the combination of long and short syllables is recurrent with a specific order, the metric becomes regular, as has been the classical metric of the Greek Latin cultures, each one with its complex variants made up of defined cells that each of these cultures has classified in deep detail. One of the first Greeks to study metric was Damone, and then Aristoseno di Taranto, Filoseno, Liodoro, Aristofane, and in the Latin sphere, Cicerone and Quintilian. The metric. Let us now concentrate specifically on the metric. In Greek, metro means measure, and as we have said, the ancient Greeks have studied in deep detail the metrical aspects of their language. Since the characteristics of the syllables of the ancient Greeks are very vast in terms of length and sonority, we will try here to summarize as far as possible Greek metrics by simplifying between long syllables. Long syllables are marked often with a dash, and short syllables like something like a U, dash and U. I don't know whether in English how are the name, specific name, but among us today it is dash and U. Regular meter was chosen by poets, as in the case of Homero in Primis, for example, because it allowed speeches to be conveyed with a recurrent, recognizable rhythm that made them easier to understand. The metric principle of isochrony, which is a quality of time, doesn't so much concern the individual syllables in terms of long-short, but their recurring combination in the form of feet. By foot, we mean precisely the basic metrical unit of classical verse, formed by two or more short on long syllables under a simple stroke. In ancient sense of stroke is the foot beat, recurring metrical extension. In general, a long syllable is considered to be twice as long as a short one. This is very important for us today in this talk. I repeat, a long syllable is considered to be twice as long as a short one. The long syllable normally is considered the tonic syllable. It's the equation one dash equal to two U's. One dash, a long one, equal to two short. So it's possible to identify within the metrical foot a unit of measurement or primitive time, equivalent to the short syllable called a mora. A mora is what they say chronos protos, the shortest one, a mora. In classical Greek and Latin meter, the mora is the unit of measurement for the duration of syllables, on whose alternation between short and long the rhythm is based, and corresponds to one time unit, that is a short syllable, this U, while a long syllable, the dash, counts as 2 times or 2 mora. The same applies in prosody, where a distinction is made between monomoraic syllables, 1 mora, and bimoraic syllables, 2 mora. For the many species of foods in use in classical time, we list only the most common. And we have our first Share. So the main rhythms in Greek you have here. You see the dash and the use, no? The 3 beats, trocheo, which is piram, tiram, jumbo, tarim, tribraco, tim, so 3 more, dattilo. That is strange. Sometimes you see that dattilo is considered a triple time, no? Dattilo, dattilo, dattilo. But as that is the tonic one, it considers to be the double long. So it's 4 times. So it's dattilo, dattilo. Huh? And on this there is some discussions. But for now, let's assume that the dattilo is a 4 time, and anapesto is the opposite, spondeo, 2 dashes, and fibraco, pimpara, pimpara. Huh? And this kind of, this is of course very theoretical, everything, no? But you will see the application soon of all of this. Wait a minute, here we have to interrupt. Yes. There are many different feet in Greek meter, but it would be not possible to see them here today, as they would take us from our main goal. The groping inverse of rhythmic feet has different names depending on the number of feet. The most commonly used have been the dactylic hexameter and the dactylic pentameter of 6 and 5 feet each one. Let's see now the oral and musical parameters. Let us return to the main parameters involved in the production of spoken speech. If we consider that a speech is composed of words, each made up of syllables, which form sentences in prose or verses in poetry, we could quantify a discourse in the following way. 1. The pitch of phenomena, no? Measured in frequencies, from low to high. No? So the pitch of phenomena, or the pitch of phenomena. No? So this is the pitch. No? How high or how low we speak. The duration of the syllables, long, short, duration, no? The duration. Shen is very short, duration is longer. No? But both are syllables. So some syllables are longer than the others. The articulation of syllables. This is number 3. The articulation of syllables. According to the type of consonant they begin with, stronger or weaker consonant. For example, the word articulation, the first is a articulation. Type, no, is type and articulation. So each word has its own consonant and its articulation. 4. The intensity of the phrases. From piano to forte, no? The intensity of the phrases. The intensity of the phrases. No? So, forte and piano. The modulation of the vocal timbre, the tone color, no? The modulation of the vocal, no? So I can vary the timbre as well. Everything then we will transpose to instruments. The character of the phrases, declarative, emphatic, interrogative, as we did before. Let us look at an example now. Let's take, for example, the text by Petrarca, Vergine bella che di sol vestita, which is beautiful virgin clothed in sunlight. We can analyze the parameter mentioned above in this phrase, Vergine bella che di sol vestita. Now, if we imagine this same phrase set to music with one musical note per syllable, we realize that the parameters for quantifying the phenomenon are exactly the same. So we have the same parameters. Before we had the pitch of the speech, no? As I said. Now the pitch of the notes, no? If we put it in music, measure in frequencies. No? So one note is here, one note is here, so we have this range. The duration of the notes, long, short, measured in times, brevis, semibrevis, minima, quarter note, quavers. The articulation of the notes depending on the type of attack with which they begin, strong or weaker attacks. No? Vergine, bella, che, di, sol, vestita, no? All of them have different consonants, and we can produce, whether singing or playing, performing, plucking, for example, in our case, so reproducing these consonants with our attacks. The intensity of the notes, from piano to forte, as before. Some notes will be more piano, more forte. The agogics of the phrases, how we accelerate a phrase or how we slow down a phrase. No? For example, if I say the character of the phrases, I can say the character of the phrases, and I can say the character of the phrases, or the character of the phrases. No? So there's different kind of agogics that I can apply to this speech, to these sentences. The modulation of vocal timbre. No, as I said before, I can say Vergine bella with different timbres, colors of voices. The character of the phrases, declarative, emphatic, interrogative. In this case, Vergine bella che di sol vestita is very declarative. There is nothing with nothing special. It's not like, say, for example, come again, sweet love, no? Like the song. Come again is imperative. No? Come again. I'm giving an order. But the Vergine bella che di sol vestita is mostly descriptive, we can say in English, no? Descriptive, a description. Let us now take the same example, but with a melody. I compose, for example, a melody, trying to put all those elements whose rhythmic values correspond to classical meter. Vergine bella che di sol vestita. I have here the melody. And I will share this with you. Yeah. You see, for example, vergine, no? Where is the tonic accent of vergine? Vergine is on ver, no? This is, in Italian is sdrucciola, no? Tantatam. Vergine. Vergine, I gave double time to the first note. No? So there's a minima, and then to 4 notes. Vergine, bella che di sol vestita. No? In the sentence, Vergine bella che di sol vestita, the tonic accents are in ver, bel, sol, ti. Vergine bella che di sol vestita. This is the scansion of the tonic accents. And in this case, I gave the... and also, in the parameters, for example, I try to when, when we pronounce this Vergine bella che di sol vestita, we can say in English, no? In Italian, sorry. We don't say, for example, Vergine bella che di sol vestita. It's very strange to do like that. The normal way would be, or is, Vergine bella che di sol vestita. So our direction goes to here, to vestita. This arrow is casual, it's not, but why not here, no? Vergine bella che di sol vestita. And I gave the highest point of the pitch, no? Of the phrase. No? No? So I can apply here all the parameters that I said before in this little phrase. For example, the pitch is already given. No, the melody has already the pitches. Then the values also. I gave the real values of the scansion of tonic and mute accents. Then the articulation I can reproduce. No? For example, in terms of consonants, the most hard consonant is this one, the T. No, it's very occlusive. The other ones are occlusive are the consonants that we cannot pronounce in the time. We cannot say a T to pronounce it. But the V, yes, the B, K, no, this is strong. Sol, V, no, vestita, and consonants, for example, in the lute, strong consonants, we can do stopping the strings. This might be a T or a P or a K, no? K, K, T, T, P. And I say with a low speed of attack, no? It's so low that I interrupt the vibration of the string. And in this case, I can reproduce a strong consonant. If I do a very high speed of attack, like that, for example, you see that it sounds very different to this. No, this is a very, very fast way of speed of attack. And this is trying to reproduce those consonants, the other, no, the soft consonants. No? Vergine. If I do this, it's like a tetite, no, ta-ta-ta, and not vergine. Then, in K, I can apply this. Italian is a very variated articulation because it has many different kind of consonants due to the use of the double consonants. No? Sometimes the double consonant jumps a lot. Here there's there's only one bella, no? Bella, which is bella, makes more longer the note, the C. Okay, but this is an attempt to put in music some of these thoughts that we are speaking about right now. And let's continue I say this would already constitute the first aim of this talk, which seeks to demonstrate precisely this, that the prosody of spoken language, with all that this entails, as we have previously analyzed, corresponds intrinsically to musical prosody, especially evident in periods when music was composed based on literary and prosodic models. Let's now go to music, specifically music compositions. Let's see how some Renaissance composers approach prosody from a compositional perspective. We take the famous piece by Josquin des Prez, for example, Mille Regrets, that everybody knows, and observe how Josquin treated the syllables of the text, what duration he assigned to each one. The text says, mille regrets de vous abandonner, et d'élonger votre fâche amoureuse, chez si grand deuil et peine douloureuse, comme me verra bref, mes jours définis. A thousand regrets for abandoning you and leaving your loving face. I have such great sorrow and pain that soon my days will be seen to be numbered. I mean, the last translation is not very, that I will die, in other words. The thematics in the Renaissance in songs are always more or less the same. Let's see the score, which is very interesting. I'm sure that a younger person will be much more fast than me on this. My daughter said I am a boomer. Okay, Mille Regrets. You see here, no? And you know everybody the music of this. No? I can play very, very, I have here. Stop now. How we stop this? Here, sorry. Yeah. Okay. I thought, yeah, I am a boomer. Sorry. Okay. Let's analyze. Mille regrets. Where is the tonic accent? Mille. No? Mille regrets. When we listen to the phrase mille regrets, the mille is the tonic accent and regret. And let's see how he considered. You see, no? Mille is the double long that the le, no? Mi is double long of the, and then regret is longer than the following notes. And afterwards, de vous abandonner, the direction and the tonic, the main tonic syllable in de vous abandonner is an ne, de vous abandonner. And you see that he gives the longer or the longest value, no? In terms of duration of the note. So, almost all the composers, especially in Renaissance time, respect very good the Latin Greek metric. So they respect very much the prosody in terms of theory. It's not very easy to compose in this way because you have to consider this duration and to calculate your polyphony according to these concepts. No? But everything you will see that, for example, everywhere, votre fâche amoureuse, no? Votre fâche amoureuse. No? The scansion of the tonic accent is votre fâche amoureuse. Tatatim tatatara. No? The direction is amoureuse, and you see that he gives more here than here. So it's an attempt to compose like we speak. So this is why prosody is very related literature with music. So now it's easy because we have the examples with words. The thing will be when we have instrumental music without words. What could we do? What can we do in this case? This is, for example, Mille Regrets. Let's, for example, try again with Vergine Bella, but now with a real composition, not with my composition. But let's say, for example, Cipriano d'Errore, Vergine Bella. You remember the text? Vergine bella che di sol vestita, coronata di stelle al sommo sole. For example, we can see only this right now. Then we can play also the music, but for the moment we see here. You remember, Vergine bella che di sol vestita, no? Pam taradara, tatatam tam taram. Vergine dana che di sol vestita. We can see, or we will see if he respects this, for example, no? Vergine, you see at the very beginning how long he considers vergine. Bella che di sol, no? Here, for example, sol, it's longer than the other one, but especially vestita. Vesti is the longest one, this one, and this one. And Vergine bella, tanta lampara, Vergine bella, you see bella, how long is with respect the other notes. So at the very beginning you have this. So in terms of only composition, he respects the prosody of the text. Then the performers, singers in this case, have to deal with the agogics. Then already some agogics they are set there because it's already written. No, Vergine, some values are longer than the other. But even though the performers can accelerate and slow down the speech according how we speak, because we say Vergine bella che di sol vestita, no? Even if we respect the tonic accents and the duration, vergine bella che di sol vestita, there is many ways to do this. I can say, for example, vergine bella che di sol vestita, no? So the second part I push very much, no? Vergine bella che di sol vestita, like when we speak Italian, no? It's the same in English, and in every Western language, we always push forwards the speech, and then we relax at the end, or we breathe, actually, because if we don't breathe, we cannot keep going. But every Western language accelerates, and then this has so slow down. And this we can apply exactly in music. So this is concerning tonic and mute accents, but then we can apply also the directions typical of the agogics that we saw before. There is, maybe we don't have time to see more music, but because Palestrina, for example, he has the same, no? We can see very fast the Palestrina on Vergine Bella. Vergine Bella, remember, is from Petrarca, and this is Petrarca, for example. But this is Palestrina, no? The other one was Cipriano del Rore. Vergine bella che di sol vestita is the same. You will see exactly Vergine bella che di sol vestita, no? Vestita. Even here, he put a diminution to amplify, no? The fact that the Virgin is clothed with sun. No, the way of clothing the sun, he amplifies with this kind of melisma, no? To amplify the concept. This is also very common doing this for example, another one, everybody knows Ancor che col partire, no? The Cipriano del Rore. Ancor che col partire io mi senta morire, partir vorrei ogni momento, tanto il piacer che io sento della vita che acquisto nel ritorno, e così mille volte il giorno partir da voi vorrei, tanto son dolci i ritorni miei. We have here, now I'm getting faster. Ancor che col partire, no? Maybe there is some considerations to do in order in how we pronounce old languages. I mean the pronunciation in old time, in early times. No? Because today we say ancor in Italian, but maybe in the 16th century we said ancor, and not ancor. And probably it was this, because he put more emphasis in an. No? Ancor is the longest note. And this shows us, and can maybe teach us, that how we pronounce in early times. Everybody today in Italy, they say ancor, with the accent, tonic accent in the O. But probably it was ancor. No? Ancor che col partire io mi senta morire. And you will see that the scansion of the tonic syllables are precise, very precise. Hmm? On this, we have different what do we have? So everybody knows this music, I think, no? There is also settings for lute. So it's very, very well known. It was a hit at that time. So let's now consider lute music, and especially how we can apply everything that we are speaking about to lute music, especially in instrumental music and not music with singing. I took two pieces, but maybe we can see only one. We can see on the time, because maybe there are some questions at the end. Let's take, for example, the Fantasia, I think you say in English, Fantasia 3 by Francesco da Milano. No? Fantasia 3 is the catalog by Arthur Ness. And I think everybody knows this Fantasia. Where is this one? I play only the incipit because we will focus only on the incipit. No, until that. I play it again. Some interesting work on that incipit. Look at that. Yeah. So we have the subject, the theme, no? No? And then with imitation, in the bass, as Francesco composed, and I composed 3 texts on that melody, trying to respect the prosody of what Francesco, so it's the opposite way around. Before we had the text and we put the music, now we have the music and we try to fit a text. So the first one is occhi lucenti, dardi pungenti, mi fan morire. This, in English, means shining eyes, piercing darts, they make me die. Oh, it's a very poetic and like the thematics in the Renaissance. Occhi lucenti, dardi pungenti is not this one, is this one. And we see that it fits perfectly with the prosody. No? Occhi, so it's longer than chi, o. Occhi lucen is longer. Dardi, you see dardi is longer than di. pungenti, and pungenti as is piercing, no? I gave the diminution that Francesco composed. No? Mi fan morire. No? So this text fits perfect with the prosody of the melody. Another one is Vergine Bella, for example. Vergine Bella che di sol vestita. It fits in this way perfectly, also with the Francesco. And the last one is Lingua pungente, lama tagliente, non aver pietade. And this, in our English, is a stinging tongue, a sharpened blade, show no mercy. Is lingua pungente, lama tagliente, non aver pietade, no mercy. So we have logogenic is the text. Pathogenic, we have three different pathos. The first one, occhi lucenti, dardi pungenti, can be very joyful. No? So a man who is falling in love with some other and say, okay, no, he addresses to the eyes. The other one, Vergine Bella, is very descriptive, as we saw before. And lingua pungente, no, lama tagliente, says somebody that traicionó, how do you say this, Chris? Traicionar. How do you say traicionar in English? Traicionar. Yes. Yeah, traición. No? Yes. The meaning is this one. No? So we have three different pathos. When we play, in my opinion, we should take in consideration all these things. Because what Francesco gives is simply melody or polyphony, and we can apply all of these things and also consider them long notes could correspond with a long syllable of a speech. So, in other words, what he is proposing is a real speech, no? So, for example, the first one, which is very joyful, we can play, for example, no, with a very propositional way. No? The second one, which is descriptive, so. The last one, for example, we can reduce maybe the speed. This one can be the knife, no? The blade, no? No, some pungente, no? This only with one incipit. You can imagine what you can do, what we can do with many subjects of fantasia, no? I have, in this same fantasia, individuated some other themes in the fantasia, but now we don't have time to see them, but it's enough to see only one. We can do the same, for example, with Fantasia by Alberto Daripa, Albert de Rip, which is this one. No, I play only the theme, which is imitated also at the very beginning. we give some texts to the theme, giorni felici un tempo, aura soave un tempo, o un giorno, to don't repeat tempo, and morte crudel errea, no? For happy were the days of old, once the breeze was soft and sweet, and the last one is, oh death, so cruel and foul. So we can apply the three texts to this fantasia. No? The first one, giorni felici un tempo, so which is also very propositive and very joyful. So very shine. No? On morte crudele rea, so the death. So more mournful the speech, and the prosody of the text fits exactly with the music. Giorni felici un tempo, and also in the imitation. So now we come to the end. I always need more time. So as a conclusion, it's clear that for many centuries music has functioned as an enriched mirror of literature, especially in the realm of poetry. Although we cannot say which came first in human history, music or speech, we can say that Western organized music has imitated spoken language, particularly in its prosodic structure. During the Enlightenment and still later, with music education becoming heavily focused on solfège as a quantitative and proportional mathematical distribution of temporal values, the concept of prosody gradually faded. On the one hand, the arbitrary assignment of stress accents according to the predetermined metrical indication, like 4/4, 3/4, 6/8, these proportional signs, and on the other, the creation of approximative instruction of foreshaping a musical speech, such as rallentando, diminuendo, articulation signs, dynamic markings, approached music from a different perspective that, in my opinion, lacking context and deprived of meaning. So when we need to put a music, rallentando, diminuendo, the point here, the slash there, and so it's like to have a police in the score. No? That if you don't do that, you go to a prison. In the field of early instrumental music, what we commonly refer as early music, the idea behind this study is to create a musical language that operates according to the prosodic rules of a spoken or recited language. The listener should be able to imagine a narrative which, although it contains no words or explicit meanings, nonetheless evokes them. And to finish, a solid understanding and command of prosodic greatly helps to dispense with many of these approximations, granting the performer a high degree of independence in musical interpretation. Thank you very much. I don't know if we have...
Well, a couple of minutes for questions, and then
only a couple.
the artists were just coming down and gone in.
Two.
Yeah, just a couple of minutes.
Two.
Baroque flute music.
Baroque music.
Yeah, Baroque lute music.
Yes,
Yeah, how this applies to.
it's more or less the same. More or less the same. For Baroque music, we should consider, because, for example, in French Baroque music, we have many dances. No? The main corpus of the composition are dances, maybe 90%. But dances, we can consider two roots in Occidental music. The root of vocal, like here today, and the dance. But if you see how dances were treated by all the composers, they were also polyphonizadas. How can we say? They were set into polyphony. Also the dances. You know, so that when you play a local dance on the Quran, at least you have two voices. You know, so voices. So the roots is also vocal applied to the dance. So the prosody principle should work in the same way, whether you have dances or you have vocal music. If you see, if you consider German later music, like Eduardo Eguez, for example, they belong already to what we say the international styles. So from Corelli, it was before a little bit Scarella, even Corelli, Parsons, they try to, maybe because the ways of communication at that time were much more fluid in Europe, you have the communication between styles, the Italian style, French style, mainly in Europe, they try to communicate. No? Couperin, for example, Apotheos, Lully and Lully, no? Corelli and Lully. So try to put in together the styles. And in the lute composition by Eduardo Eguez, to say one of the most important, you see this, you know, this international style, and as many of that music come from these sources, from vocal, say, for example, Weiss is very, very Scarlatti or Handel, and Scarlatti and Handel, they have incredible, beautiful melodies. And on those melodies, you can apply exactly the same prosody principle. So this is not only for Renaissance music, it's for every music that has speech, no? That you can apply a speech. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, I was also thinking about the sort of obsession the French had with the tuning and the sound of the instrument.
Yeah, this is.
You were thinking very much more about
this is to explore sonorities more, but I mean, this exploration of sonorities doesn't concern the speech of the music, in my opinion. It's only to explore the sonorities. So it's like to play with the parameter of the timbre of the color of the music, and not the real speech of syllables or words.
Maybe one more question.
Yeah, please.
While I find this very convincing, I wonder if there's a slight difference with some sacred polyphony, where the text is invariably Latin, can be Palestrina or Liber. And often I found, singing those things, sometimes it seems to go against the word stress. And, okay, with William Byrd, we
Yeah. When I song with Italian people, I say, what do you want? Yeah. It is quite good, but sometimes no. Corre